I'll fix and start kicking ass, just like it said at the beginning of the program.
Man of the hour, tower of power.
It's unbearable. If it's hot at night,
sending your ass on the jabroni jet to the other side of the territory.
I couldn't care less. As long as I ain't hot when I...
Nightmares are the best part of my day.
The goods from the woods.
Hot damn!
Welcome to the Goods from the Woods. My name is Rivers Langley.
Pat Riley.
The reflection of perfection and number one selection, Mr. Goodnight, man of the hour, tower of power, tooth sweet of a sour.
And today we're joined by our very special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for...
Dave Waite.
Yeah, man. Back again.
96 episodes later. It's
Yeah,
Dave
hey,
Waite.
dude.
From one of our first episodes.
Yeah.
Was it 2 or was it 3?
Three, yeah.
Episode 3. And now
is
here
it?
we are, episode 98.
98, man, you guys. That's a long run for a podcast.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 3 years, 98 episodes. Don't do the math.
Yeah, we had a bit of a hiatus for a bit.
Yeah, but you know, that ain't bad, you understand?
Yeah.
Seriously, we out there, we chugging, you understand? So many of us fall to the wayside, but the juggernaut continues to roll on, you understand? Still coming out of them woods to deliver the goods,
Yes,
Dad.
sir. Actually, it's 99. Actually, this is episode 99.
So you're back on track. You're releasing one a week? Or
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
week on iTunes. Hell yeah. So I wanted to talk about Dave has a project called 1 Year Dave.
1 year Dave.
Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. It's one of my favorite things going right now as far as comedian projects.
Well, once a week, I let the internet vote on a thing for me to do. Now, I give them choices. You can't let the internet, otherwise they'd be like, go take a dump on a house. Or, I don't know. I don't know why.
Take a dump on a house.
Oh, that's just natural, you know. Birds do it, you know.
I don't know why. I should come up with a better, hook. I should be like... they'll be like, if I let the internet, they'd be like, get a swastika tattoo or something. So I give them
like
four,
Commit a war
prison.
crime.
so I give them 4 choices.
Yeah, but
every
taking a dump on a house, there's a lot of different options you could choose for how to take a dump on the house and where to take the dump on the house. So
Yep.
It's very evocative.
See, I would go with the high alive paddle. Just dump into that and then fling it. You could get the dump on the house, and you could do it from the
Down
street.
the chimney is called the Santa Claus Special.
Well, that's how my projects about. So if we can, I brought up the dump. I took a dump earlier today that almost made me cancel this podcast. It was such a struggle. I was like, man, I probably should eat more fiber on the list for one.
I like to drink
next week.
milk. I find that's good.
I don't know if that's true, but all right. Maybe for
If you have that
Mr.
lactose thing, it moves it right through.
Yeah, you make yourself sick. Yeah. All right.
Welcome back to Morning Constitutional. I'm Rivers Langley.
Yeah. You just walked everybody on the podcast with the sweet
Man,
poop
if
talk.
you can walk a podcast, that's a fucking feat.
There's actually a place that's down the street from my house that's a colonic place, and it's called Colon Rollin'.
Keep rolling.
Rolling.
Yeah, that was the
Well, you
thing
know
that came
those
to
things
mind.
that you could, for like dressing a deer, the thing you can put in the plug and you pull the test. It kind of sounds like that.
Sorry.
So yeah, Project Dave. Let's
Project 1
cut to
Year
that.
So the idea is that, I'm kind of a dirtbag and don't really do anything. The idea of just doing anything instead of nothing,
Yeah.
So, the first week I put on, wake up at 10 every day, or walk for 25 minutes, or shave every day, and then some other bullshit one I can't remember. But they pick walk for 25 minutes every day. So for 7 days, I walk for 25 minutes every day, and then at the end of the week, I write about what happens. And then there was 1 week I didn't eat no bread. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was diet week. That was the toughest one. Well,
Yeah.
this week, we'll get to this week. But
Yeah.
the no bread week was the toughest one because it just pulls me out and makes me be more conscious of
Right.
be present, because now I have a thing to think about every day. And
Right.
I'm not eating bread this week. I landed in the Denver airport and I got off the plane. It was bagel place, pizza place, McDonald's. And then I was like, oh, what the fuck? And now I got to go over to the board and study the fucking board with all this shit on it. And
Do you count beer in the bread category?
no, I didn't do no carbs. I mean,
Oh, okay.
You can't make a sandwich out of beer.
That's a fair
Rivers.
point. Well, if you freeze it,
I mean, I was,
can
I
make a
always
really
leave a
weird
little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah.
So I went and ate at a Chinese place. It was the first time that week I was offered pizza 3 times, and I had to turn it down. I never turned down pizza. I don't think ever in my
Like
life.
Peter in the Bible 3 times.
Yeah. I had to
Denied
deny
the
it.
pizza.
Yeah.
I think pizza's my Jesus. Yeah. And what was crazy is like right before the end of the week, I did Doug Loves Movies podcast, and people bring donuts all the time.
Oh God.
And I hadn't ate since like 2, and I was up on stage, and all of a sudden I'm fucking just chowing down on donuts. And I didn't think about it. And then Doug asked me what to plug, and I'm like, yeah, I got this website, 1 Year Dave, the challenge this week, no bread. And then I go, are breads donut? And then everybody,
Wait, did you say are breads donuts?
Well, I didn't say that. I can't believe my grammar's bad even in real life.
Are breads donut?
I was like, I think donuts are bread. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And then everybody laughed at me. And then I was like, oh, man. It was like 10 o'clock. I was like 2 hours away from and I fucking ate maybe 10 mini donuts like a fucking savage. And then I was like, oh, well, that's funny. That's funny. That fucked up. And then I went to the improv space, and it was Bobcat's show, Crab Apples. And the closer was this drag queen lady, and she was lip syncing Oprah quotes, which is a hilarious take on because usually like drag queens are like Madonna or Cher.
Yeah.
So she was doing Oprah quotes, but I was trying to write the story I was trying to write down what happened at Doug Loves Movies, so I was on my phone like a dick, and all of a sudden she was lip syncing an Oprah quote about bread, and I was like, that's funny, and I kind of acknowledge it, but I wasn't. She was like in the audience, like no one else, and I wasn't paying attention, and apparently she had a big bag of rolls. And the next thing you know, I got hit in the fucking head with a goddamn roll.
Oh, man.
It was like the universe was like, oh, you want bread, dickhead? And then I got hit. I was like, what fucking...
Who's this drag
I was
queen
gonna say
act? I need to see that.
I was gonna say she's the Lambert's Cafe of drag queens.
That's
home of the
amazing.
throwed rolls.
I think she's like pretty well known in the comedy community. I wish I had known her name.
Does she always carry bread?
I don't know, but I got hit with a roll in the fucking head.
On a week when you're not supposed to have bread.
Yeah.
That's when that kind of shit happens because, the bread strikes back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The next day I went and I went to one of those pizza Chipotle places, Pyology, and
Oh yeah.
those are very popular these days.
Yeah, they replaced my favorite bar, the only bar I liked going to in my hometown, with a fucking Pyology. So that's
Man, that's a shame. But
I'm going to Blaze. I'll hit up Blaze instead.
Blaze ain't too bad.
Yeah.
And then there's Mod. I think that it's like, right now we're to see who wins right now.
Yeah, Pizza Rev.
Yeah.
Ooh, Pizza Rev. I
What's
haven't been
the 800
Pizza Rev
degrees?
is solid, yeah.
800 degrees is the other
Yeah,
one.
that one's not as good.
Yeah.
So yeah, every week I let people vote, and then I write and then I try to write story. I went back and interviewed like my ex-girlfriends about my biggest flaws, like that movie High Fidelity.
Oh, how did that go?
It went all right. Well, the one girl I texted, and she goes, "You just texted me at the exact worst time. I just dumped a guy," and I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Oh,
all
well,
right.
you can really let me have it then.
And then
You have troubles with timing like that.
yeah. And then we went back and forth, and she was like, "I would love to." I was like, "You can give me the business," and she's like, "I would love to give you the business." And I was like, "Oh man," but she was still pretty nice. She said I was the worst, but she admitted to being kind of terrible as well. And and then like 2 days later, she's like, "When are you gonna fly me out to L.A.?" And I was like, "Oh man," I opened up a can of worms.
This
there.
is not what I was looking for. Or was it?
I mean, she's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a lot of trouble. I think a lot of the girls were like, I was in aloof and shit like that. And, the same shit that every guy gets hit up for, being fucking not listening and all that horse shit. I don't know. You're married. I don't know how you make it work.
Listening.
Listening.
Lots of listening.
A lot of listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, because the ladies, they like to talk so much. And
Jesus. But
if I didn't walk up with the poop talk, I did with that sexist comment.
but I think the project,
But it's like
to some extent, is about getting a better understanding of yourself or whatever.
Yeah, better
So-
understanding myself and a better understanding how I interact with other people, and
Right, so hitting up the old girlfriends, that's actually a great
Yeah,
way
I mean,
to
I'd
listen.
like to know my flaws. That's a lot
Yeah.
about self-reflection, and I'm not not afraid to dig in there,
You did something like that on was it Nikki Glazer's show where you went and had a test group?
Yeah, so they sent me on a couple blind dates and then filmed it. And then they took the the clips of the dates to a focus group. And I had to watch a group of losers fucking rip me the fuck apart. It was there was some old lady that's like, this guy's a loser. I bet he can't take care of himself. And then I was like, man, maybe I should start a website about taking care of myself.
Yeah. What was this for?
Nikki Glazer's show, Not Safe, on Comedy Central.
It's a TV show. That was just like a segment on the show.
Yeah,
and they focus grouped it or something.
They focus group my date. Yeah, this one Asian dude, looked like a 50-year-old Asian accountant, was like, this guy's not a closer. That's what he said about
Hit the bricks, pal. Yeah.
And they let me go in at the end, and they were like mortified. They were so embarrassed, like you could tell, like because they didn't know I was there.
They didn't know you were there.
And then,
God, if I was in a focus group, I would just assume they're there.
Yeah.
That's the point of a focus
You've
group.
seen enough You've seen enough TV at this point. You should know behind that mirror.
Well, they didn't act like it, how
dude's
mean
there.
they were. Jesus Christ.
That is hilarious.
And then I went in there and I looked at the Asian guys like you're slaying a bunch of pussy. That's what I told him.
So you just went in and roasted them.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, there was a couple minutes where I was like, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna fucking leave. I can't handle this. I know it's for TV, but this is fucking brutal. People talking shit about you. But it was weird, like, because the first date they showed him was like, the date was kind of a disaster, and then it was just because me and the girl didn't click. And then the other two dates where I had chemistry with the girls and they were laughing, like, then the focus group turned around and were like on my side, and there was like this gay dude with a man bun that was like super positive. He was like, he's just funny, And I was like, yeah, I am funny. Yeah, I like this guy. Yeah, when I went in the focus group, I was like, I like you, man bun. You're fucking cool, dog.
Fuck you, man bun's cool. Fuck you.
So for the blind dates, was it set up by the?
It was set up by the TV show. Yeah.
And was it set up in a way that it would lead you on a path to failing in certain ways, or was this completely?
No,
just
they
like a
didn't really
straight up-
give me any instruction.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing they did is they brought out, halfway through the date, every time they brought out the biggest fucking plate of nachos you've ever seen in your entire life. It was like this fucking high, and it's like the world's messiest food. So they're just trying to jam me. I'm trying to.
That's hilarious.
I'm just eating nachos
Yeah,
like a
because you
goof.
can't eat nachos dainty. That's the one thing
No.
you can't.
Yeah, just like-
nachos, chili burgers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially
Ribs.
if it's a giant nacho tower. Yeah.
So yeah, that was fucking nuts. And the only thing they brought one girl back and were like, ask her out. And I was like, all right. But one time they were like, you should ask this girl out. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to let you have footage of me getting rejected on fucking TV. There's no way I'm not going to let that happen. But they were all lovely. I mean, I couldn't tell if they were like, because it's TV.
Yeah.
Nikki texted me. He was like, did you ask that one girl out? And I was like, no, I didn't know. What the fuck? Was I supposed to? I don't know.
So was there criticism the thing that led you to doing the 1 year Dave thing, or was this?
Well, it was also a little bit of depression I was battling, and depression comes from an absence of plan. That's where the
Right.
So I was like, man, I should do this. I should do something. I've been so resistant to. I was just like, I'm funny. That should, and I'm like, I got to be funny plus another thing, So, and why not make it something like my friend who helps edit the post, I was like, he called it a dirtbag self-help guide, because this week I'm supposed to not be smoking, and everybody's like, what's the challenge this week? And I'm like, not smoking, and then I immediately light up a cigarette. I made it like 2 days, and then I fell off, so I mean, I didn't even, I put like either vape or the gum or nicotine, like that's what the vote was, and then people picked the gum, which I hate.
Oh, the gum is the worst.
So I bought the gum on Wednesday, and I walked up to 7-Eleven, and I was walking home, and you're only supposed to chew it like one bite and then let it sit there, and then all of a sudden it was just I chewed maybe a couple bites, and like on the way home, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to make it home. Like I was like sick. Like I was like, I'm gonna lay down here on the ground and fucking like I poisoned myself with nicotine.
It's disgusting, and it has the consistency of putting like rubber in your mouth.
Yeah, it's like candle wax. It tastes like candle wax.
The lozenges aren't that bad, but yeah,
the patch is the worst.
The patch will make you real sick.
Yeah.
I never got to that point.
Oh, the patch was. I remember I tried to quit smoking one time, and I used the patch, which was okay until I decided to like fall asleep with the patch on.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
What do you have like crazy dreams?
Oh yeah,
night terrors and shit.
You wouldn't think that like nicotine would make you trip out, but I just had the weirdest dreams that and they were like scary. You know?
So then the next day I switched to vaping because I was like, man, this is still my life. I have control over it. You know? And then I vaped all day, and then I went to the taping of Nikki's show, and then I was like, man, I was just on TV. Well, I might as well have a cigarette.
Celebration time.
I gotta have a cigarette.
You have to want to quit.
I mean, last year I quit for 2 months, and I mean, I felt amazing, and I was like, I can't even believe I ever smoked a cigarette. And then I got a little touch of the depression, and I was like, my brain's like, hey, you know what, man, you're not depressed? A cigarette. I was like, oh, all right, brain. And then smoked a cigarette. Immediately was like, oh, my brain was lying, dog. My brain was telling me a big lie. I feel way worse now, and it's so good. Like if you don't smoke for 2 months, that first cigarette's the worst thing. You're like, I can't believe, and then you're like, smoke.
Once you break that cherry on it, a slice off a cut loaf is never missed. And when you lose
I don't even know what that means, but all right.
when you lose I haven't smoked a cigarette since when, and you have that one, then you're bumming, and then next thing you know, you're buying a pack and you're fucked.
You're fucked, dog.
Yeah.
I mean, if at the end of next year, at the end of this, I'm a non-smoker, and that's the only thing I accomplish, then it'll be a huge success.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I've already lost some weight, and so I think it's fucking dope.
So what's this week?
This week is gonna be because I'm gonna be I leave Wednesday, and I'll be traveling every day, doing shows every day.
You're gonna be driving too, right?
Driving and flying and driving. So next week is just gonna be because I want wins. It's about winning.
Yeah.
When you want to change your life, it's better to have small goals and small wins. Than too many times people are like, I'm changing everything. And then one thing goes wrong, and then they're like, fuck it.
Yeah, dude.
So
speaking of my soul, man.
So next week is just going to be connection week, and I'm going to call a person every day on the phone and talk to them that I haven't talked to in a while. And the vote's going to be either pre-2006, which is when I started comedy, or post-2006, and then it'll be like A through M, and then N through Z in my phone. So that people will be able to pick through those categories of the people I will reach out to. And then that one might be because motherfuckers don't answer the phone anymore. And, and like pre-2006 will be tough because I don't even know like how many people's phone numbers I have before then in my phone.
And how many haven't been changed. Or
like, I mean, they're on Facebook, so I could probably reach out to them that way. And then, pre-2006, they got fucking kids or married and shit. So it's going to be tough. Like, that's the one I'm like, well, I hope they don't pick that one,
Well, and I think you probably picked a good one to do for driving because you got to think like when you're driving, anything that you're trying to quit, that you're trying to stop about yourself, it's fucking impossible when you're on the road, man. Because all you want is like, oh, dude, if you're trying to give up like sugar, you get to a gas station, you're like, fuck it,
or
give me a candy bar, fast food, smoking, like any of those things are so goddamn enjoyable when you're on the road.
Yeah,
so it's,
I mean, like if you need an easy win, as Dave was saying, it's like
although calling people is not necessarily an easy
well,
win.
I mean, it's like driving around. It's kind of like the equivalent if like your quarterback is knocked out, you have to have an easy game that you're playing, so it's easier to play like directional Missouri State University.
I was gonna say, so this is your.
I mean, I've been on the
homecoming game.
This is your Louisiana Monroe game.
I've been on the road a couple times. Like last week was like I had to do like read 2 books and then do 50 jumping jacks a day. And stretch for 10 minutes. And I was like in a comedy condo, so it was pretty easy. Like I was just like, I read the 2 books within like the
what
first
city
2
were you in?
In Myrtle Beach. And then I did like,
oh man.
But the jumping jacks is why I moved the smoking up because I did like 50 jumping jacks every day, and I would be like, man, I gotta quit smoking. This is fucked up.
Jeez.
You feel it.
Yeah, especially if it's something like jumping jacks.
Jumping jacks are fucking rigorous.
Yeah, because it's one of those.
Especially 50. Like 10 is like whatever.
Well, because jumping jacks are one of those things like, oh yeah, I did those when I was in elementary school and knocked them out. It's like they seem easy.
Yeah.
It's like a jumping jack. And then once you get past like 30, you're
Yeah.
just like, this is the worst. This is like so heinous.
But I've kept doing it. Like I haven't done. Like I did 50 yesterday, so I'm like keeping up with it a little bit with the jumping jacks. So I'm like, man, there's like a part of me that's just curious. Like, could I just get in shape by doing jumping jacks every day?
Potentially.
I have a
I was
hard
looking
enough.
at this specimen. I was thinking maybe.
No,
you would
I have
know.
a hard enough time going up the stairs. I ain't doing no jumping jacks.
I remember when I was a
Especially
kid.
like did you play high school football?
No, I didn't.
Man, you do burpees and fucking fit the fucking gear.
Yeah.
90-degree heat.
What are
yeah, during 2 days.
What is that? Because I always hear Stone Cold talk about burpees on his podcast and Hindu squats, and I don't know what either of those
Well, a
things
Hindu
are.
squat is like a regular squat, but you jump up.
Oh, okay.
When you like, so when you go down, when you go up, you jump.
Oh, okay.
So that's like one repetition is like go down, squat, jump up. That's
Gotcha.
one.
What is a burpee?
Burpee is like you kind of squat down, then you kick your legs out like you're doing a fucking push up.
Yeah.
And then you fucking kick your
And then
legs
you
back.
stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you
Oh,
can,
okay, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Ain't
if
they
you really
also
want to
called
make it.
grass drills?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, if you want to make it even worse, you do the push up and then you hold it for like 5 seconds and then you go up. It's oh man, they'll kill
I
you.
never did that, man.
Yeah. The
Wow.
thing I always loved about jumping jacks when I was in elementary school was watching people do jumping jacks, especially when you're a kid and you don't have your motor skills. It's some of the funniest things ever watching kids doing jumping jacks because they'll get them mistimed and put the legs out but the arms down, or the jump up and down and like do the jumping jack. It's so funny to watch people do jumping jacks. It's humiliating, you know? If like you could stand outside yourself and watch you do jumping jacks, it's like it's humiliating.
Yeah, we
I
had
know one day I did it. I just did my underwear and my balls were fucking flying everywhere. I was like, I better put some shorts on. My balls are gonna fucking fly
You
out.
should put that on the site.
put that on the website.
Well, my mom reads it, so I gotta make sure I put. It's got to be a little. It could be PG-13.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to show it, but you could say do jumping jacks naked.
Yeah, my mom's like, she got mad because I can't figure out the problem I have is like I go to like a poll maker, there's things you make a poll.
Yeah. You do this on Twitter, right?
But I do it on Twitter as well. But the problem is the website. I put one on my website that's just like embedded in there, and then on Twitter the votes won't fucking match it. Because I guess older people just go to my website and vote,
right?
And they don't fuck with Twitter. And like I can embed the Twitter poll into my thing, but it's not active. And if people try to vote there, it takes them to fucking Twitter. And if you're not on Twitter, so I don't know.
And the Twitter poll dies after 24 hours too.
Yeah,
so.
Well, I usually start the poll on like Tuesday, and then at midnight I fucking stop it, and then that's whatever wins. But sometimes they don't match up, and then I have to do math.
Which is not what you got in this.
That
part.
could be something you could do during a week. Is do math.
Math.
Yeah,
It's not like a math textbook.
Just have like a very vague. Just one of the options, is just math.
this thing I made up is fucking causing me problems.
What has been kind of the most like surprising one?
I think the exercise is huge. I think the no bread, I'm back on bread, but I did notice a difference pretty immediately. I'd eat like a burger that was lettuce wrap, and then I wouldn't feel gross,
right.
I didn't feel any of those moments where, you eat too much pizza and you're like, oh, you're fucking die. I never had that moment. I felt good. So it might be something that I, kick it, stick it. I don't know. I love pizza too much, but
Yeah.
like the no porn, there was like no porn week, and that was just kind of dumb,
Yeah.
Because I just watch porn before I go to bed, just a nighttime
Yeah,
treat.
who's going to know?
Yeah, well, I knew, I'm trying to be honest, I'm going to talk about failing. I'll talk about smoking this week. That's what the story will be about,
Yeah.
It's gotten me writing every week. That's another thing is like, for the longest time, I wouldn't show anybody my writing because my fucking grammar's, even in talking, my grammar's fucked up. And my spelling's atrocious. And I was always just like, I guess I'm just fucking stupid. Like, I'm fucking... illiterate or something. And then I've read a lot of books about writing, and then people are like, fuck that. Don't worry. Just write, goddammit.
Yeah.
And then you're like, somebody will edit it for you. And I was like, all right. And then I have a couple of different people that will read them and then edit them. And sometimes they're like, what the fuck were you talking about here? And I'm like, I don't know. And then...
Well, the writing's been good. All of the stuff I've read on Facebook has been fantastic.
Yeah. People become more invested if you write. It's something that, I could be wrong,
No, I mean, it's as an exercise when you write things, it is more resonant because you actually go through the process of, head to hand to write, to read it as you're doing it, as opposed to a video blog where it's just like, oh, you just do your normal thing and you talk, and then maybe you'll watch it again, but you probably...
Yeah, it's like unless somebody's like a very powerful public speaker, or they have something like really amazing to say, like, is a fucking video blog gonna touch somebody? You know?
And then also there is that sort of like recording yourself talking, and it like kind of gets that sort of, it like stimulates a certain gland where you get very self-conscious and you don't really kind of go through, you like re-record or second guess, as opposed to writing where it's just like the whole process is okay, you just write it out and then read it and then do your little tweaks and whatnot. And also in the phrasing, too. I mean, because you become more deliberate with the phrasing if you want to make it funny or you want to, punctuate a certain point.
I think the hardest part is going to be coming up with shit every week.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's some upcoming things you've thought about trying?
I don't know. I'm like 1 week ahead of it right now.
Oh, really?
The first 3 weeks I had planned out, and then like now I'm kind of...
Do you have one that you're thinking about that you're kind of dreading, or like do you have one that's like kind of further out that you're maybe not dreading, but you're like, oh, this is going to be a whole thing?
I mean, I'm going to let people guest host. I'm going to let people do that. This week was supposed to be my friend Sally, who's a comedian, Sally Brooks in New York, and we have the exact same birthday into the year. We're birthday twins.
Oh, cool.
She wrote a thing and picked like 4 things, and I was gonna do, but then I moved the smoking thing out and then fucking whiffed on it. But so I'm gonna use hers at some point. I think maybe like once a month I'll let somebody else take the reins.
Right.
That I trust.
Right.
Because then it'll be interesting. Like, and then it's like really like, oh, let's see what this person. I'll get to see what they think I should work on.
Right.
So they're gonna pick stuff for you.
Yeah.
I've always been fond of taking a dump on a house.
Just pick locales.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick Mr. Goodnight.
Or maybe that'll be the 1 year, like the last one.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be predictable, though, because eventually we know what's coming.
I think maybe the last week I should try to do everything that I did for the whole year in 1 week. I don't know.
That might be, that'd be pretty intense, but then at the end of it, you're just like, whoa,
Yeah.
I think if you did that, it would just replicate the experience of 1 week as a Mormon, basically.
Yeah.
That could be a thing 1 week. Do a week of more.
I'll be honest with you,
Be like New Age week.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, they wear crazy underwear, but just about every religion makes you wear something or do something like that. So what's the difference in the end?
But that could be a fun week. You could do a New Age week.
Yeah, New Age week's going to be
crystals.
Crystals.
Yeah, what color
acupuncture.
crystal should I do? What does my horoscope say for today? Actually, New Age Week is good if you want other people to make up your mind for you, because that's what horoscopes is about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, follow the horoscopes. Like, figure out that amber is the color of your energy. Things like that. For instance,
What does that shit mean?
dude, I have no idea. I just know it's a
311.
311 song. Yeah. Yeah, New Age Week could be fun. Would there
especially if you throw in like rituals into it? It's like, Dave is going to have to do certain New Age rituals, like the crystal ritual.
If you have like an upcoming comedy date in like near Sedona, Arizona, because Sedona is supposedly where 12 vortices all meet in this one place, and it's supposed to be like the most, like the thinnest part of the separation between the real world and the spiritual world is supposed to be in Sedona, Arizona. So next time you go to Arizona, that could be your New Age Week.
Conveniently, the home of a ton of New Age people.
Yeah, dude, they're fucking everywhere there too. It's a beautiful town, but also there's just like hippies all over the place that are all about crystals.
And then that just happens to be the place.
Yeah, and there will be like, there's since there's so many like different like the crystals or the certain juice diets.
I thought you were going to say Jews. What sort of podcast we on?
No, that's when you go on tour in Israel. Then that's the week you pretend to be Jewish for a week.
Certain sort of Jews. What? What? Oh, jeez, God, get me off this podcast. Oh,
Yeah, there's crystal stuff. There's
Listening to like whale sound CDs or something.
Man, yeah, dude.
How do they not kill themselves?
who whales?
Well, they do that from time to
I was gonna
time.
say they beach themselves. It's pretty easy for whales to kill themselves.
Yeah, but we kill pretty good sometimes
That's
too,
fair
especially
point.
in the good old days, Moby Dick and all that. But no, these new age people listening to whale songs and things.
dolphin songs too.
Yeah, and just baking their brains in Arizona, looking at crystal colors and stuff. I mean, now don't get me wrong, because I know this is the pot calling the kettle black, but does nobody there have a job or nothing?
Would you do like a religion week maybe?
Maybe I haven't. I mean,
Like a week where you go to
Let's
church?
see when I scrape the week 42 when I'm scraping them out of the barrel.
That's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to think of like what's going to
Well,
be.
you could do things like only eat kosher food or something like that, or observe particular practices
fasting,
for a week. Yeah,
like daytime fasting.
Ramadan. When's Ramadan?
Right,
this
yeah,
year?
for Ramadan,
just
you could
ended,
fast,
actually,
yeah.
so
It's
you'd
just
have to wait
ended.
for so.
Oh,
I
you're
guess
lucky.
unless it's 2 year, Dave.
If you're going to get Ramadan, you got to get it when it's in the winter and the days are nice and short.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't want to eat. That seems fun.
So you can eat just after sundown.
Yeah, you just have to wait till the sun goes down and then you eat a bunch.
All right.
I'm on my way to that fair land where the soul never dies, where there will be no parting hand and soul never dies. Oh, dear friends and me now sadly will be no turning lies, where all is peace and joy and love and soul never dies. Hey!
So you've been on the road. What are some other things you're going to try to do while you're on the road in addition to calling people?
Maybe I'm going to Nashville. Maybe dress up like a cowboy or some shit. I was thinking maybe I put that on there. or
Yeah.
something. Buy a cowboy hat or something like that, man. Or
Them shits are expensive, man.
yeah, I know. So I don't know. Maybe buy.
I get them for cheap.
Well, see, I was going to say, you get a cheap one down at like Olvera Street and just wear it to Nashville and nobody know the difference.
But Nashville isn't much of a cowboy hat place, I guess.
kind of is.
Country
Yeah.
music.
I mean, country
just go
music,
just
but
go to a
it's more-
flea market or something, or and get cowboy hat there.
Yeah, the old hat at the flea market.
Racket.
What flea market you going to?
I got my hat at the flea market in Augusta.
No shit. Well, yeah. I guess. All right.
They got like they have like hats and like boots, and they got an indoor part too,
Okay.
and belt buckles and all that shit.
That's a good flea market because the ones in Florida are usually just crap that people find in like their houses and they just throw it on a table. And
I mean, that's where you can find
there's
some
some of
real
that,
good
too.
shit.
Yeah, yeah.
but
And
some dealers and some booths is better than others.
And except the one the one by my house, my parents' house in Florida, there was a guy that did a live tiger show. So he would just
Ain't got that in Augusta.
Yeah, you'd walk around the flea market and you just see like some tiger on a stage.
They
You're
do
like,
have
"What?"
boiled peanuts though, Rivers.
They do have boiled
That's
peanuts.
unreal.
Yeah.
That's some
And-
hillbilly shit.
Yeah,
there.
there's the tiger show, and the guy that like runs it is this like 7 foot tall like Native American guy.
Is that
with-
Ray Thunderhawk?
Ray Thunderhawk? Yeah,
That
With the
sounds
gr-
like a
with
badass
like
flea
the greatest
market.
mullet ever. He was Ray Thunderhawk is insane. He was part of an FBI sting for trying to steal multi-million-dollar swords from his ex-wife.
That was a sting. They set
there's
him
a
up
Sting, yeah.
like
And then the
like
other-
Marion Barry, but with swords.
Yeah,
What
there
was it?
bitch
The
set me
Department
up.
of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Swords.
The other one that was part of the flea market was like a father-daughter act where it was the father.
She walked in, and then the daughter starts
no.
shitting on the dad.
No,
and the
no,
dad
no.
eats it, and then the mom comes in.
Yeah, no, but it was.
What do you call an act like that?
The Aristocats.
Is that the movie with the cat that
Yeah,
talks like the woman on Green Acres?
Yeah, it's
But it
with
was.
both the cats.
It's almost.
I don't
as-
get that joke. by the
It's
way.
almost as out of control as the aristocrats joke. It's the father is the world's worst Elvis impersonator. Like he weighs 400 pounds and wears a spandex Elvis. He looks
So-
like Super Porky, the
Oh,
luchador,
gee.
and then he like performs like really bad Elvis songs. And his daughter does belly dancing as he does these bad Elvis songs. It's amazing.
I mean, I'd watch that.
Yeah, and all the old ladies kind of swoon at the Elvis because it's
This
like
is why nobody does family acts anymore.
I mean, old women, it doesn't matter what the Elvis impersonator looks like. As long as he's an Elvis impersonator and you're like in your 80s, biggest stud in the world, you know. So
What will happen to all this?
There's something you could do for a week. Just
What?
be Elvis for a week. Elvis
man.
impersonator.
but that doesn't.
I think 1 week maybe it'll be like wear a suit on stage every week.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
see,
like
that'd be great. Yeah.
dressing up, you know,
Yeah.
on the reg.
Yeah, I might do that on the road though. It might be easier on the road to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Do you own a suit?
Nah.
So you'd have to buy a suit.
I'd had to buy a suit, but I mean, I turned my whole life into a tax write-off. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I bought a fucking scale. I was like,
That's a good idea.
This
Yeah.
scale's for the fucking challenge, so I'm fucking write everything off now.
They challenge you to
Because
wipe
the
your
website is
ass.
Yeah,
promoting
exactly.
I'm promoting my brand, and so any money I spend on the money I spend on the website and the money I spend on any of this shit.
Yeah, hot dog and LLC.
Yeah. I don't make enough money to be an LLC. Yeah. Some comedians are an LLC.
Yeah.
He's a rapper,
I was
right?
gonna say LL Cool J is an LLC. He's an LLCJ.
Is that like some kind of funny hand job or something?
Yeah, no, them funny hand jobs they give out there, the old LLC. There's
yeah, the one where you take the
little
belt.
crank.
I've got a tiger by the tail, it's plain to see.
Yes, it is now.
I won't be much when you get through with me.
Through with me.
But I'm losing weight and I'm turning mighty pale.
You hear what I said now?
Looks like I've got a tiger by the tail.
So do you have any good road stories?
Well, recently I was in Fargo and Justin Bieber was at my hotel.
Oh my God.
What's he like?
I didn't get to meet him, but so the hotel was where the comedy club was as well, and then like on the. So he was playing the Fargo Dome on Saturday, but he got in town.
Fargo Dome?
Is he fallen far enough that he's performing in like the Fargo Dome?
I wonder if Donna Fargo ever played at the Fargo Dome.
I mean, the Fargo Dome actually gets. They say they get like 1 or 2 big acts a year
Okay.
because there's no other thing for like 300 miles. Like you
Right,
had to
right.
go to Minneapolis.
Minneapolis is the closest.
So apparently,
right?
like the Rolling Stones have played there.
Huh.
Like all sorts of people have played there. Paul McCartney, because there's nothing. There's no other place in North Dakota where there's concerts.
or
and
probably
then
South Dakota for that
South
matter.
Dakota
or Saskatchewan.
Vern
or, like,
Gagne
the
probably
other part
ran
of
shows.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so he was at the hotel, and then the club was on the second floor, and then the feature was on stage. Because there was like girls just sitting in front of the hotel, like a ton of teenage girls, and the feature was on stage, and all of a sudden you just hear like fucking Beatles level screaming, and then like so the guy just stops, and like people get up and look out the window of the comedy club or what it's like
Yeah.
a comedy club restaurant, and then they just see all the girls run across. Apparently Bieber had walked through the lobby, and like the girls saw it and went ape shit, and they had security guys at the door like barricading the door because they tried to fucking go through the like they had to have the fucking door, and the women are like
God.
just like
Jesus.
That's surprising that they actually didn't break the glass. I
don't
just
know.
like the like kind of just mass of them. Just
Yeah.
seeing Bieber.
I didn't realize he was still as big as that.
yeah.
He
he's-
he is, but it's like he's one of those weird people that kind of the age that I am and the age that I guess we all are. We're kind of removed from
The
what
kid
would
is,
actually
yeah.
make him
Yeah.
appealing to.
And he doesn't have like the crossover level, like like Katy Perry songs. You can't. They're like unavoidable.
Yeah. There's
Yeah, he doesn't have that crossover. Like none of his songs are like, hey, that's a like even like Britney Spears. You heard like, but there's no like.
Yeah.
It's just his songs.
Even the Timberlake had sexy back.
yeah. Timberlake had sexy back. Like some of his stuff, you're like, oh, that's catchy.
And you
shit.
never hear like Justin Bieber songs in commercials at all.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like you would with like Britney Spears or Katy Perry
yeah.
or.
The only one I know is Baby because it has Ludacris in it, and he's going,
When I was 13,
I had my first love. Yeah, that's the only redeeming part of that song, but it's still rough.
But yeah, so he doesn't have that crossover. That,
Yeah.
He's never done the Super Bowl. Yeah.
yeah.
And he's starting to like kind of dirtbag out just a
Well,
little
yeah.
bit. It's like kind of getting slow, and he's going to hit that point probably when he turns 27, where it's just like beer gut punches out, and
That's what he's really
the
going to be
wispy
good.
mustache.
Well,
His
yeah.
face caves in like Macaulay Culkin did. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like with all those like teen acts, they all disappear, and then like in 20 years he'll come back and do a thing, and
Yeah.
like the way like women now go bonkers to see New Kids on the Block again,
Yeah, oh, that's a good point. Yeah, so
That'd be a
30-years-olds in
That'd be a
15
concert
years.
to go.
yeah.
Fucking-
No, like New Kids on the Block is funny because it's like Most of those guys kind of look the same as they did back then, except for Donnie Wahlberg, who just looks like a cop now because he's on Blue Blood. So he's like trying to dance and sing, and he just has like the cop body, you know.
If you went back in time to whenever those bozos were big, 1990, 91 or whatever, and you said, hey, you know the guy in New Kids on the Block? You know his brother, Marky Mark, who drops his pants on stage? He's going to be a big actor one day.
One of the biggest.
People would not fucking believe you.
Marky Mark dropping his pants. It was the greatest moment in rock and jock basketball history. Did you hit Pizza Ranch when you were in North Dakota?
I love Pizza Ranch. Did I talk about that last
Yeah.
time? Man, you guys,
We
did you
talked
go
about-
back over and listen? You
No,
got notes?
no.
You all got a notes section? You got on your all's fucking...
No, Pizza Ranch was indelible.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I've been
Well, I
wanting
couldn't eat pizza. North Dakota was the fucking...
that was
Oh,
Pizza
really?
Week.
There was no bread week.
Oh, shit.
I went to this place called Worst. It's fucking awesome.
It's the best.
It's a sausage house in downtown Fargo. You
Oh,
know?
okay.
And I ate like, I just didn't get a bun, man.
Yeah.
It was, they got a bunch of fucking delicacies.
Uh-huh.
They got alligator sausage. They got every sort of fucking
It
sausage.
tastes like chicken.
Wild game sausage.
Yeah, they got all that shit, and it was great. Like downtown Fargo is like the hipsters have taken it over.
Really?
There's a place called Sweeto Burrito that has like they put tater tots in burritos and shit like that.
You know, to be honest with you, every place has kind of gotten like that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird that every town...
What?
And it kind of
Middle-sized.
sucks.
Yeah,
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 because when you leave LA, you're like, "Gee, I want to go back to the real America, not be surrounded by hipsters 24/7. And every city you go to, they're there too now.
Well, I love it because I love downtowns and I like getting out, and that's where people are. Like, I grew up in the Cincinnati area, and I remember like in the '80s and then the '90s and then the 2000s, like downtown was dead. Like after people got off work, it was just like they fucking rolled up the goddamn sidewalks. There wasn't shit going on, and it was kind of sketchy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of downtowns were sketchy as shit. And now it's like, I know it's like gentrification. I'm conflicted about it, but
I know, everybody is, everybody is,
I love urban areas, and I like being able to get out and mix it the fuck up, So I like more young people are moving back downtown all over. Downtown LA is probably farther behind than Cincinnati or fucking Detroit even. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I mean, there's a couple blocks of downtown LA is all right, but it's still like. There's still like, it's like, what the fuck is going on down?
It's where they filmed the Omega Man, and it still kind of looks like it.
I mean, they still got the tent cities, and you're like, man,
Right.
it's like, they got to do something about the homeless people, but it's also like, this downtown should be vibrant. This is fucking LA,
Yeah.
Well, I think parts of it are, but to go back to your point about smaller towns having that, I think a lot of it can be attributed back to that, the beginning, 2006, 2007, beginning of that economic recession that we had. A lot of the, kind of cool single people that would have left and gone to New York or Chicago or LA or some bigger place have been forced to stay where they are. So even like small marketplaces like where I'm from, like Birmingham, have turned cool all of a sudden because there's so many people there now that probably would have moved elsewhere.
Well, it was also the gas crisis when the gas became super expensive.
Yes.
They stopped building the further. People started, like 2008 was the first year there was an influx in 40 years of people from the suburbs too.
Yeah.
So it's been that ever since, like more people. I read this book called The End of the Suburbs. Like I studied geography, so I'm real interested in this shit. So,
Oh, is that right? Wow.
yeah. So like young people with families are living in like the original suburbs of the cities. Like,
Right, yeah.
The town I grew up in was like an original suburb of Cincinnati, but so it's like a city. It's a town. Like there's sidewalks everywhere. You walk to everything. You know what I mean? It was built for walking. People are like tired of like, I got to drive my kid to a play date. So that not everybody, but people are like, I'm wasting all this goddamn time in my car and not spending my time with my kids.
Yeah.
It's like if I had a little bit smaller of a house
Right.
and a neighborhood where my kids could play in. So even like those neighborhoods, people are moving back into, and refurbishing those houses and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So-
and it's actually turning into a thing where it's the opposite, where like the places that were kind of the rundown inner city areas are moving out to the suburbs because
and
there
it
is.
sucks for low income people because the public transportation sucks in suburbs.
Yeah.
So now those people are further away,
And they can't get, it's tough to maintain their jobs because they have to travel,
I mean, they got, everything's fucked up. You know?
Yeah.
But downtown Fargo is fun. So,
Downtown Fargo's fun, man. It's tight.
They tried to do that with the town I grew up in Florida, but it just ended up turning into like just it was like, because Florida's always 10 years behind the time, so it's just like essentially the year 2000 Miami essentially.
But y'all still have bitchin' flea markets, though.
Yeah, it's true.
man.
I mean, it's still one of those towns where people will refer to every restaurant as Applebee's. It's like, oh, what Applebee's did you go to? I went to Chili's, you know.
Remind me not to stop there to eat. then.
Yeah, but they did it the downtown, but the way in which they did it, it wasn't like restaurants or anything. They just made it all bars.
Yeah.
And it just became dangerous, and people get stabbed.
You can't do too many bars. You got to
Yeah.
have some nightlife, and you got to have entertainment sort of stuff. And
yeah, it's all bars, so it's like, and they all play like music they stole like Blast Kid Rock from them, so it's not really that much. It's just more like, you know, foot traffic and less empty storefronts, but like more of the elements that are not necessarily hip. It kind of went backwards in hipness, you know? It's like geographically, it's like, all right, we did the revitalization of downtown, but it's not like hip in any way. In fact, it made it even less
The
hip.
problem in Florida is if you're hip, you're on the fucking bus.
Yeah, exactly.
You're case in point.
Yeah, you're out, so you move to Atlanta or something like that. There is like a kind of track that, like, for Florida, when people move out of Florida that like want to aspire to some city hipness, it's always like, okay, you go Atlanta first, and then you go to like New York, or you go to Chicago, and then you go to LA. It's like this kind of like course that
That's how you get out of Florida.
that's how you get out of Florida.
They're like, all right, we got some more humidity. And
How does your mom respond to
There you
the
go.
1 Year Dave thing? Is she like,
She was the one who was like, I can't vote on Twitter, you know?
but is she generally like involved in it? Does she like, you know?
She shared some of my posts. Like, she'll share like the vote. She'll share the stuff, you know, and they're real positive about it. You know, my dad was he's positive about it too. He's like, hey, you gotta be writing. You writing? He always says that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm writing. All right, we just gotta keep writing.
Does mom do like the kind of check-ins, like, so did you eat bread?
No,
Did you?
I mean, it's not like that.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and we don't have that sort of, you know.
I was gonna say, do you see them a lot?
Well, yeah, I mean, I see him fairly often because I do the road, and then I'll post up there. I'm going to be going on the road for like a long time, like starting Wednesday, so I'll be posting up. I'll post up there in between gigs and shit, stay in my childhood room and get a flashback jack in. That's what I call it. When you jerk off in your childhood room.
There's
flashback
nothing
jack.
weirder than staying in your childhood room when you're a grown person.
Yeah.
It's like a very sort of odd feeling to do that.
I mean, when I moved out, they kind of redecorated it, but there's still like the Led Zeppelin poster up and shit like that. You know, it's still like,
Oh man! See, I stay in the guest bedroom, and my room has been turned into a computer room,
Nice.
which is the funniest thing ever. But
Well,
yeah.
it's always like the stuff from your previous room, at least in my case, it just kind of gradually goes into the closet. So if you really want to reset up the full experience, you go into like the old, like,
Go into the closet.
okay, well, here's all the old scene pieces. All right, I just threw up my Rage Against the Machine poster. You know?
yeah, I mean, there's still a bunch of decorations from when I was a teenager and
Yeah.
and shit, you know. So
Which is just weird if you're like your parents and you're just like, oh, I guess I'll leave that. We'd really like to throw up a border and some paint, but you know, we'll just keep the Led Zeppelin poster just to maintain, like, you know, so Dave feels like he's at home when he's saying.
Yeah, we'll just paint around the Austin Powers cardboard cutouts. Something I had in my room. My mom is she's an antique broker, so she has been to every yard sale in Auburn, Alabama since the Carter administration. Like, just fucking hits them all. And so as a kid, I would wake up and she would just find weird shit and buy it, you know, for $2 at a yard sale and just put it in my room while I was asleep. So my whole childhood was just like waking up to like weird shit. And my favorite one, it was like the funniest shit. I woke up and she had a life-size cardboard cutout of Austin Powers, and she stood it up at the foot of my bed. So I just woke up and I was like, ah! Like, it
That's
scared,
hideous.
It scared the shit out of me. It was right next to my face. Like, it was the first thing I saw when I woke up, and it had not been there when I went to
man,
sleep.
what happened to Mike Myers, dog? You ever think of that? You ever just wake up and like, man, what happened to that motherfucker?
Maybe he just retired or something.
Yeah, I think he just kind of.
I mean, I feel like between the Shrek movies, he made enough money to where he
yeah.
doesn't have
Yeah.
to do anything if he doesn't
I know
want
he's
to.
got money.
He's
I
fucking
ain't,
loaded.
I I ain't sweating his money. So
Yeah. I mean, he's probably doing like that whole David Lee Roth thing where it's like, well, I made a lot of money. I guess I'll climb Mount Kilimanjaro or something like that, or do like some sort of weird like hobby.
He made that documentary about Shep Gordon. That guy was Alice Cooper's manager.
Yeah.
You ever watch that? That's tight as fuck.
I've heard it was great, and I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. But
So
it's
he
on
made
Netflix.
that. That's a tight doc. Tight doc. If you're into tight docs.
Oh man,
It's a tight dog.
There's a Tight Doc podcast that records out of this studio. Actually.
Oh really?
Yeah. Our friends Luke and Monica do a podcast called "What Did You Learn?" They're actually coming here after us, so I'm at least not my bedroom to like 2 other podcasts, man.
Oh man.
Dave, where can people find you on the internet, sir?
Well, there's DaveWaiteComedy.com, and then there's oneyeardave.com. I have maintaining 2 websites, and also on Twitter, Dave Waite Comedy, and Instagram, Dave Waite Comedy, and then I have a podcast called The Riff Board.
That's you and comedian Shane Moss, correct?
Well, yeah, allegedly it might be Shane Moss. I'm not positive. It's hosted by Dave Waite's friends, so.
Oh, okay. Are you not calling him Dr. Drugs on the podcast?
Yeah, he studied at University of Far Out, man.
That's my favorite. When I talk to Dave, he refers to Shane Moss as Dr. Drugs. It cracks me up so much.
But that's what people think. People think it's Shane Moss as the co-host, but it's Dave Waite's friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
We bleep out the name. Sometimes we'll fuck up and say somebody's name, and then we bleep it out.
We do that too, yeah.
But our podcast is a lot about James Vanderbeek and pool parties at James Vanderbeek.
James Vanderbeek. That's another guy. What's James Vanderbeek?
Well, he has a lot of pool parties.
Oh, okay.
And, he's always trying to get on. He always flakes out on being a guest on the Riff Board. And, but then he's always he'll FaceTime us from the pool store. He's always buying giant inflatable parrots and stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing. His dad wouldn't let him have pool parties, and he did not want his life.
Yeah, and
So
a little bit of Malkovich. Malkovich will come by. He won't get on the mic. He just eats pretzels and eats all our fucking pretzels at the podcast studio. So it's a real bummer. And then Ray Liotta is the character. So if you want my Dave Waite's friend described the podcast best as it's a celebration of immaturity. If you like a podcast where it starts off with a phone call from my dick, then this is the podcast for you.
All right.
Can you get Boomer Esiason on the show? He'd be a good guest.
Boomer Esiason cut my dad off once in traffic. My
Really?
dad fucking still hates him to this day. He goes, look at that guy's big fucking head. He's an asshole.
Say there's proof that he is an asshole.
Yeah, there's
totally.
proof that he is an asshole. I think it's rare for an NFL quarterback not to be a fucking asshole. I think
that is true. I mean,
you're just the ultimate. Everybody's kissed your ass the whole life. You're the fucking alpha dog of a fucking bunch of fucking maniacs.
I just love how dads hold grudges, especially if it's like that one time where a well-known person did something like accidentally or on purpose.
Almost ran me off the goddamn bridge.
I'll call him Norman. He doesn't even deserve to be called Boomer.
Well, you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/TheGoodsPod. We're on Twitter @TheGoodsPod. Pat, what should they do?
Rate, review, and subscribe.
And subscribe. And I've been trying to play some fun tunes all summer. This is a band called The Toms. They put out one record in 1979, and it's fucking great. And the song is called You Must Have Crossed My Mind. We'll see you next week. The Goods from the Woods was mixed, edited, and distributed by me, Rivers Langley. You can find the show on Twitter at The Goods Pod. Our theme song was composed by DJ Smiles. Check him out on Twitter at DJ Smiles.